The Texas Rangers add Jock Peterson, the Mets bring back Sean Manaea, and the Red Sox add Walker Buehler. That and more ahead here at the Upside. And welcome into the MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us late on a Monday evening. Christmas Eve is around the corner. Remember, we'll be live again tomorrow afternoon with an early live, kind of recapping all the movement that's happened overall this offseason. So make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. You'll be notified when we do go live. We're very close to hitting our goal of 2,000 subscribers. We'll see if we can get there by the end of the year. So if you're new here, hit that like and subscribe. Follow us on X at UpsideSN and on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. But our top story begins with the Texas Rangers. Just yesterday, we saw them trade away Nathaniel Lowe. We thought at the time they were doing this move in order to save money. All of our hope, if you're a Ranger fan anyway, was that it was going to be for something really big, possibly even Corbin Burns big. But the logic there ultimately turned out to be correct, that Jock Peterson was the guy they were hoping to use that money on. And honestly, the contract looks a little expensive from the outside looking in. 2 years, $37 million. I'm not going to lie and say that I was hoping for this to happen. I was hoping they would do something different. Honestly, I was hoping they would go a different direction as far as a corner outfield bat. Peterson didn't play the outfield last year, and I thought that's where Texas was ultimately looking. But they were looking for an impact left-handed bat. Here's what I can tell you about what the Rangers see here in Jock Peterson. This is kind of the plan that's kind of unfolded so far this offseason. They have been prioritizing power more than anything else offensively this year. They had a real issue with that last year because they had so many guys regress offensively. It wasn't just injuries and people not playing up to snuff. It was the lack of power in their lineup. So they address that at catcher by bringing in Higashioka. They make the trade for Jake Burger. What's the one thing he's good at? Power, hitting home runs. And now you get Jock Peterson, who by all accounts had a career year last year. But while a DH only, his best asset is that stick. And if he's able to hit, able to get on base, it is a good move for Texas. I'm going to hold my thoughts as far as whether or not this is ultimately going to work out in the long term for them. It's a 2-year deal with an opt-out after the first year. So if Jock Peterson outplays what he thinks he's worth on the market, he's going to opt out and go out there and get the money. If it doesn't work out, then Texas is on the hook for another, 16, 17, $18 million in change? That's a little bit onerous for a guy that's going to be a DH only. Now, granted, as a DH only, he still played in around, what was it, 130 games last year for the Diamondbacks. He was very good, and his numbers against lefties were actually fairly decent as well. So maybe Texas will give it a little bit more leeway there. But I think we'll see a lot of platoons anyway out of Texas at first base, DH, and left field. We'll see how things work out. But Texas making a big swing here with Jock Peterson. The other big news, Walker Buehler goes to the Boston Red Sox. A day after I told you they had already invested in their starting rotation quite a bit, bringing in Garrett Crochet and Patrick Sandoval. They go out there and add Walker Buehler, a one-year deal, basically for what the qualifying offer was that he turned down with the LA Dodgers. I think he's going to pitch well with Boston. I think that environment's going to work well for him. And as far as the Boston Red Sox are concerned, I thought they were done looking for starting pitchers. So honestly, I think this probably shifts Patrick Sandoval to a long release spot starter role at $9 million. That's a little rich, but I really like what the Red Sox have done. They haven't committed long-term money yet. I still think they're a favorite to go after Alex Bregman. I think he'd be a great fit in that lineup. We'll see what he does there, or what they end up deciding as far as Alex Bregman is concerned. But I think that would be a great option. But I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. If you guys want to hit that like and subscribe, let me catch up on some of these comments here. Welcome in, JG. Holly, welcome back. Rafe, appreciate you for joining us once again. JG, haven't been in chat on vacation right now. Bregman market is weird. Astros are out. Boston may also be out. Looks like the Mets and Tigers. Bregman is automatically regretting on going back to Houston. I don't think he's necessarily regretting Houston. I still think he's going to do very well in free agency. The question is, how much money does he ultimately get from wherever he goes? I think he's still going to do very well. I think we look at the Adames contract for what he got from the Giants as kind of a baseline for Bregman. I'm expecting something a little bit north of what that Adames contract is. My expectation is somewhere in the 7-year, $210, $200 million range. Could get higher if they want to try to space out that average annual value, drop that down a little bit, maybe add on an extra year just to make it look better from a tax sheet perspective. But I think Bregman's still going to do very well. There have been some rumblings about the Mets kicking the tires, not just on Bregman, but about different possibilities regarding Pete Alonso. Could they bring back Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman? Or would they choose to go after Bregman and just say, hey, Pete, been nice, but we'd rather go with a guy who has better defensive versatility and who can play a little bit better defensive game all the way around, and bringing in Alex Bregman. That's one thought process that started to come underway among media types out there. So we'll see what happens with Bregman, but it is curious how it might affect Alonso if he indeed goes to the Mets. As far as the Tigers, I think Bregman would be a great fit there. Again, we talk about the Hinch connection, but I think he would give them an air of stability, a team-wide sense that, hey, we've got the ownership and front office backing us now. We have a great pitcher in our starting rotation. We're ready to take the next step as a team and consistently be a force in the AL Central. Does it mean they're a World Series contender? No. But I do think it makes them very competitive in the AL Central. The Boris effect, okay. Rafe, yeah, so that's no on Burns, I'm guessing. I would say yes at this point, Rafe. They may still surprise us. They may save some more money. But as the money looks, or how the money looks right now, the only way I see this happening, if they were still to get Corbin Burns, that's kind of what we were postulating on the last couple of days, is they would have to trade John Gray. That's an absolute at this point. To me, they overpaid a little bit here on Jock Peterson. Don't really like that. You got to hope that stick really plays, though. But if they were to bring in Corbin Burns, you jettison out John Gray, you're probably limited to one elite closer option in Kirby Yates. You're probably going to have to go with a cheaper 8th-inning guy. They've been connected to Chris Martin. Seems to be that's the stack they're looking for back there, and that might be where the rest of their money goes, and they just call it good at that rate. But if they were to, say, space out Yates' hit to over 2 years, say $22 million, backload the deal to where the contract in 25 is a little less, and the 26 deal looks a little more expensive. Chris Martin probably comes on a cheaper deal 1 year with, say, $4 million with incentives to get it to, say, $8 or $9 million. By trading away Gray, you probably open up, assuming you do those contracts that way, you probably open up somewhere in the neighborhood of $20-ish million if you wanted to go that route. And if you can backload the Burns deal enough, you could somehow shoehorn it in there. But of course, I still think it's unlikely at this point. I think the money that might have gone to a Corbin Burns just got spent on Jock Peterson. You still have the possibility of Roki Sasaki as well coming in there. So still, it looks like a good offseason for Texas all the way around. However, I still think they overpaid a little bit here on Jock Peterson. They have Leody Taveras right now penciled in as their fourth outfielder. He's been working really hard with the Texas Rangers hitting coaches this offseason, staying in Dallas, not going out of the country like he usually does. I think he sees the writing on the wall that Evan Carter, if healthy, is probably going to be the everyday center fielder for Texas. And as a switch hitter, his only value to Texas right now is going to be as a defensive substitution late in a game and as a right-handed hitter. And as a switch hitter who struggles from the right-hand side, that's not exactly Leody's forte. We could see Texas move off of him, try to save a little bit more money, and then it becomes easier if for some reason you're still in there for Burns to make the money work, but then you're immediately trying to fill the hole left by Taveras with probably a right-handed hitter. So we'll see what they do, but for right now, I would agree there that it sounds like no on Corbin Burns. JG, Christian Walker to the Astros was a good move. Let's see here. Sorry for talking about it. I haven't been keeping up on vacation. That's quite all right. It's not too long ago. Christian Walker, 3 years, $60 million to go to Houston. Really like the deal for them because they get two of their top targets at the trade deadline from last year. They get Paredes in the Tucker deal while getting some good prospects in return. Their future looks a little bit more stable now after they make the move for Tucker, or make the move of trading Tucker. Now they're not trying to spend the money on Tucker next year because I don't think they would have been able to afford him. They still might be able to lock up Framber Valdez at some point this offseason. We'll see if they can get an extension done. There seem to be some negotiations going on between Houston and Valdez at this point. We'll see if they get it done before spring training. And then as far as the Christian Walker piece, that was the other piece they were looking for at the trade deadline. They've needed a first base improvement for the better part of 4 years now. They get it in Christian Walker. Really good defensive stats. The power started to play up a little bit last year as well. And now with those Crawford boxes, I think that power is going to start to jump off the table in Houston. I think it's a great signing for them. The question is, what are they going to do to replace Tucker in the outfield? There have been rumblings about a Anthony Santander fit there, rumblings about Jurickson Profar. We'll see who they ultimately bring in, but I wonder if they're willing to go big money on a Santander at this point. Seems like they might be getting a little bit close to their, what they're hoping to spend this offseason, and we'll see where they go. Rafe, thoughts on Armstrong to Rangers and them labeling Yates as a priority? I would absolutely agree on that second part there. Yates is considered the priority right now for that Rangers front office. I told you guys, Chris Young usually works quite a bit in the week before Christmas anyway, trying to get things done. Look at all the different moves he's done. And Yates seems like a guy who could even sign later tonight, maybe tomorrow. I do have to work in the morning, but later on in the afternoon, if we do get some additional signings, like a Kirby Yates, we'll be here first for you guys. So make sure you guys join us then as well. As far as Armstrong, I guess is the best way I could describe it. I don't see the numbers as to why Chris Young values him. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Maybe he has really good extension numbers or, whatever the case may be. But his strikeout to walk rate isn't anything eye-popping. Fielding independent pitching, nothing eye-popping. In fact, he gives up a little too much contact as far as I'm concerned. I don't really see the fit here. Now, we'll see what the number ultimately comes in as far as the contract. I don't think it's very much money at all. But if you're looking for kind of a guy who can come in and mop up duty, kind of be on a game where you're losing, say, 5-2 in the fifth inning, you need to get Eovaldi out of there because why are you blowing his arm in a game where you're already down by 3 runs? He's at 100 pitches. Why get him to 110? Go ahead and get him out of there. That's a game where I could see a guy like Armstrong coming in and mopping things up for a couple of innings. But honestly, if you're expecting him to be a 7th inning guy in a winning situation, in a high leverage spot, I don't see it. You need all kinds of different types of pitchers in a bullpen. So maybe, Maddox sees something there. I just don't see the sense in making that type of addition. But they have been trying to add all kinds of different arms, and I like what they've done back there, but there's more work to do. Welcome in, Antoine. Appreciate you joining us for the first time. Got about 38 of you guys with us right now. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe. We're getting very close to hitting our 2,000 subscriber goal by the end of the year. So if you wouldn't mind helping us out, hit that like and subscribe. Antoine, if Bregman goes to the Red Sox, where does he play? Speculation says that he's going to play at third base while Dever would shift over to first. Cassis then would become expendable via trade. Mariners are said to be a team of interest there. Mariners have missed out on pretty much every first base option out there. There is the possibility of Mountcastle going the other way in a Castillo trade, but we'll see what the Mariners do. But Casas would be one option if they did bring in Bregman. B. Rich in Boston. I guess that's kind of what you're following up there. Where would he play in Boston? He would play in Boston. Ocean View. The Rangers are built like old school Rangers. Sluggers everywhere. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. The Rangers in the late '90s, early 2000s were all about the home run, and the Rangers didn't have a whole lot of that last year. They had a lot of down years from a lot of guys in that lineup, and I think the Rangers, and Chris Young specifically, noticed power was really where they wanted to improve, and they've certainly done that in spades this offseason. Now, they still have the core of this team still in place. They still have Simeon and Seager. You still have Young. You still have Langford. You still have Heim is there as well. You now bring in some guys who can drive in some runs, from down in the lineup. Peterson's probably going to be 4th or 5th in the lineup, if I had to guess. We'll see where Simeon ultimately stacks up this year. If Carter is healthy and takes off this year, he could be your leadoff guy. And Seager probably is still your 2-hitter. Langford is your 3. Peterson could be your 4 to kind of keep the right left thing going, with Berger in there on days when you need the right-hander in there. But we'll see what they decide to do with that lineup. But they do bring in a lot of slug this offseason. Rafe, I wish a team would take Gray and Molly in a package deal. Honestly, I like the idea of having Molly come back and be a number 2 in this rotation, or at least has the potential to be. But the injury risk is very high. You have no idea if he's going to be a number 2 type pitcher, or if he's going to be a guy who's not even able to pitch 100 innings this year. Both are legitimate options for Texas. That worries me a little bit, but they do have the depth right now, I believe, to withstand that. I think they'll add another depth option at some point, whether that be bringing in Sasaki, so it pushes down the importance of Molly really getting off to a good start, or if they bring in other starting pitchers. Remains to be seen what they do, but they're not going to move both of those guys. I would say Gray would be the one that's expendable at the moment because he's proven to be relatively more healthy more recently. B. Rich, wild that Jock is upsetting you, but all in on rapidly declining Burns for a very long commitment. His underlying numbers are not promising across the last 3 years. Well, I get that, but for me, Burns is still a Cy Young capable pitcher. Are his numbers as good as they once were? No, but for me, I still think he's probably in anybody's rotation a 1, at worst a 2, and I would be more willing to go for a starting pitcher. Now, as far as Jock, the reason why I didn't think he was a great fit for Texas is because you're giving up Nathaniel Lowe. You didn't necessarily get a huge improvement offensively, and now you're spending more money on Jock. Originally, we didn't know what the numbers were going to be on Jock. The reason why I was against it because I didn't see him as an outfield player. And they said they were looking for a corner outfield bat, a left-handed hitting outfielder. Jock Peterson didn't play the field last year. In fact, the last time he was at least league average defensively was 2016. That's 8 years ago. That's a long time, and that worries me a lot if you're counting on having Jock Peterson as a left-handed hitting corner outfielder if you're going to play Langford in center and put Peterson out there in left. If they're going to play him at DH, obviously the defense isn't going to matter to you as much, but now you're carrying a guy to be an exclusive DH-only type player. That's another thing you have to worry about when you're worrying about roster construction. You can only carry so many pitchers, so that means one of your position player spots is going to be taken up by a DH. You got to be able to have flexibility with the rest of your pieces, and thankfully the Rangers do. But I would rather have had Burns and the upside of having 3 really strong starting pitchers at the front of my rotation, and then possibly having Kumar Rocker elevate, etc., etc., etc. But I think Burns, I'd rather have gone with a long-term commitment because you look at the rest of the commitments on that starting staff. DeGrom's got 3 years left with an option. Doesn't look like that option's going to vest. You look at Eovaldi, that's got 3 years. You look at Gray, he expires. Molly, he expires. Then you got 2 rookies at the back end of that rotation in Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter. Cody Bradford, anyway, looks good, but still very young and very green. And just the inconsistencies as far as, having a healthy guys in that rotation. Burns, one thing you can say about him is that he certainly does post. And that would give him some stability to the Rangers organization. That's the reason why I would have gone out there and done Burns. But I get how, the market still says that the Burns is still a favorite to go to the Giants, and I would agree there. But if I'm the Texas Rangers, I would rather have invested that level of money in a guy like Corbin Burns. Rafe, I think it's just Maddox thinking he can work on him, but who knows? Yes, we're referring to Armstrong. Welcome in, Tato. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. If you guys want to hit that like and subscribe, Tato saw your comment. Wanted to make sure we got to you today as well. I still think the Rangers trade Gray. I remember Passon had it on his column. Had a Gray on his trade list. Trying to catch up here. Gray on his trade list. Interested to see where he goes. You've got to think for salary relief they'd need a starter, but they'd need a starter. True, if you trade away John Gray, you would need to replace him in that rotation, or at least bring in some more pieces. Maybe Jose Urena would see his way back to Texas, but again, that would be a downgrade as far as the rotation, trading away Gray and then bringing back a Urena. Unless there's something bigger planned, I think Gray starts the season with the Rangers. B. Rich, Leote struggles at all things baseball most of the time. Talent, but seems baseball instincts are just a bit off. He's shown the ability to hit at different times, but he's also shown the ability to completely miss a beach ball if it were on a tee for him. And I really like the guy, really like the player, love the defensive abilities, love the speed. Rangers don't have a whole lot of speed left on that roster after the additions they've made. And, we'll see what they do with Leote, but I think he's probably the fourth outfielder unless something changes in the finances for the Rangers. Welcome in, Cowboys. Let's see, Bill, welcome back. Jack Curry said the Yankees aren't interested in Arenado. They're only trying to move Stroman. I've heard something similar as well over the last couple of days. I've kind of been picking up a little bit more about where the Yankees' mindset is. And it sounds like the qualifying offer issues were real when it comes to, top-end players like a Christian Walker, like an Alex Bregman. And then as far as the money, I think they spent their money here on Bellinger. They're trying to stay underneath that Cohen tax. And unless they move off of Stroman and the Cardinals eat some of the money on Arenado, I don't see a way they are able to stay underneath that. So with that being said, maybe there's another option that they ultimately bring in. We postulated a Jose Iglesias signing. That would be a good option for them. He hit left-handers really well. Probably be more of a platoon guy, though, in New York. Doesn't exactly fit the quote-unquote evil empire mantra that the Yankees were back in the 90s, but they're still a very strong team that might be limited financially because of their interest in staying underneath that Cohen tax. I don't think they should do that. They're the Yankees. They're supposed to be one of the three most lucrative teams in Major League Baseball. So why are we worrying about a little bit of money here? Now it's a little bit of money when you talk about the Mets and the Dodgers and the Yankees. It's a lot of money to me. It's a lot of money to pretty much everybody else. So I get why, if you know the value of a dollar, why you'd be hesitant just to spend more because you're the Yankees. But, they are the Yankees. There's a reason why they are referred to as the evil empire. And it's time they acted a little bit like it instead of always playing, oh, we're the poor guy. We are no longer the highest paying team out there. We have teams like the Mets and Dodgers giving crazy contracts, not just the Yankees anymore. And the Yankees finally have competition for those top-level free agents. Cowboys, Marcus is a head case anymore. Marcus, you mean Simeon? I don't think so. B. Rich, Burns is declining in ways that may not be fixable. Strikeouts have gone from near 13 per 9 to 9 per 9 and has been in steady decline. That has been discussed, been going back over a year or more and increased. Again, I still get it, but he's still an ace-level pitcher when he's right. And the ceiling is still there for me. Now, would the back half of that deal look ugly? Absolutely. I mean, there's no argument there. DeGrom already looks ugly, and we know where the Rangers were when they went to go bring him in. What I'm saying right now is he would still bring in some stability to the Rangers staff. Joshua, no pitcher's numbers are as good since they banned the sticky stuff. True. Cowboys, not always about the numbers. When it comes to Corbin, he's always available. Exactly. Availability, counts for something in Major League Baseball, and the Rangers don't have a lot of guys in that rotation that you can count on day in and day out. Eovaldi even missed some time last year. He missed time the year before as well. Had some injury issues, in his younger days as well. There's no guy that you can point to in that rotation and say, clean bill of health, he's going to give you 32 starts as long as, his elbow doesn't give out. I just don't see it. And so bringing in a guy like Burns would have brought some stability is why I would have liked to have seen him go there. Welcome in, Mark. Appreciate you joining us. Ocean View, Jock's defense is terrible. Yes, everywhere. They've tried to sneak him in, maybe hide him at first base. That defense does not play at all. He's going to be a DH for the Texas Rangers. Rafe, after watching a breakdown on Garcia, I'm excited to see what Maddox can do with him. Exactly. I think he could very well end up be the eighth inning guy. But for right now, counting on him as a sixth, seventh inning guy to get you to those late inning, high leverage guys, I think is perfect for him to start out with Texas. Love the Rangers deal here. They save the money on Lowe. They use it inefficiently, though, for me anyway, on Jock Peterson. But they do address their bullpen in the trade by bringing in Robert Garcia. Love the deal overall, but I would like to have them use that money a little bit differently. Even if you had kept that deal to say $12 million per season, as opposed to 18 and change, been a little bit more palatable. Probably would have been able to afford a couple of high leverage guys out of that bullpen. But as it stands right now, you're probably looking Kirby Yates and maybe a mid-tier guy as that eighth inning guy. Got about 50 of you guys with us right now. Appreciate you guys joining us late on a Monday evening. If you guys want to hit that like and subscribe, help us reach our 2,000 subscriber goal by the end of the year. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Let's see here. John, I don't feel Josh Smith gets enough love. He was the best player on the roster the first half of the year. He's been our best player off the bench. Where would your comment go? Best player off the bench when he's not starting. He was that last year, but that was the first year he's really showed consistency at the major league level. He really cooled off in the second half of the year, though. Kind of regressed back to the player he was in 23, which was not very good. Left-handed pitchers really started to get to him as well. I think having him platoon, have him not in that lineup every single day is going to work out better for him. I don't think he's an everyday player at this point. Maybe he continues to blossom, but last year we saw a little bit of the flaws towards the end of the season, and I think having some guys in there on the right-hand side of the plate that can platoon with him in the beginning, and unless he's ready and shows during spring training and throughout the season that he can handle both right and left-handed pitchers and that he's not going to wear down as the season goes along, I think they're probably going to platoon him. So we'll see, but I do like Smith. But for me, he has a lot more value via trade than he does on the Rangers roster. Rangers have a lot of good young depth options with multiple position flexibility. Foscue, Duran come to mind. And Smith, who had just come off a great year, if the Rangers are looking to do something surprising, he might be the piece other teams ask for first over Ezekiel Duran. I don't think they move him, but as it stands right now, he's probably the most valuable piece out of that group that could be traded. So don't be surprised if his name pops up in some trade rumors the rest of this offseason. B-Rich, maybe, but not sure it explains a continuing decline since the band, velocity and break, etc., all getting worse, or so they say. Well, I mean, you learn to pitch. Your throw, you're more of a hard thrower as you're younger anyway. You learn how to pitch ability as you get older. He's still a very good pitcher and has figured out how to still remain an ace even to this point. While those numbers are declining, I will agree there, I still think his ability to post and his ability to still perform as a number one in a staff would have been invaluable to the Texas Rangers. Ocean View, if Burns goes to the Giants, the NL West will be a wild, wild west. Honestly, I still don't think so. I still think it's the Dodgers heavily the favorite on the NL side, not just in the division, but for the entire side or entire conference there. I just really like where the Dodgers are at, and they're still going to add more pieces. Would adding Burns help them? Absolutely. But I think they've done a nice job this offseason. Even if they don't bring in Burns, I think it's a win of an offseason for the Giants. And then next year they can go after Guerrero, Bichette. They can go after Tucker as well. They're going to be a team to be reckoned with next year in free agency. Same thing with the Washington Nationals. They have a ton of money that they've been saving over the last couple of years. Their young guys are about ready to hit really hit their stride at the big league level. And one of their younger pitchers is out for the year due to injury. I think that's part of the reason why they've pushed hold on the spending spree right now. But they will spend next year. Mark my words. We'll see how much they ultimately spend and who they bring in. But they're going to spend a lot of money. And remember, they've been very friendly with Scott Boras clients in the past. So expect the Nationals to really come out, guns blazing next offseason. Let's see here. Rafe, seen a lot of talk on Bichette to Braves if he finds his way to the open market. Not via trade, at least, not in this offseason. Maybe at the trade deadline if there's a hole out there. The Braves have been interested in Bichette before, but I don't see a way they really afford it at this moment. They're trying to control their tax bill right now, trying to add a back of the rotation starter and a corner outfielder while going cheap on some bullpen options. But I'm not sure if they'll be able to afford it. As much as they would have interest, unless they offload some other salary, I just don't see that being a fit, at least at the moment. Understand regarding for Burns, this may be 2 to 4 more years, but 8 has been in the discussion. 4 bad years that may end up being bad that has to be considered. Yes, it does. But you see the cost benefit analysis when you look at the Texas Rangers. They weighed the risk on Jacob deGrom and said, the heck with it. We'll give him 5 years when no other team was offering him 3. Now, obviously, 5-year deal versus 8-year deal. 8-year deal sounds a lot more risky, but when the money we're talking about is still, $30 million a year, that's still a lot in today's day and age, but the teams that were going to be able to spend it on Corbin Burns can afford it. Even Texas, given their financial situation, are going to have enough guys coming off the books over the next couple of years. They would have been able to afford it, and he would still been a linchpin in their rotation for years to come. And yes, the backside of the deal is always going to look ugly. We see that with every big-time contract. Saint Vintage, welcome in. Manaea, baby. Jonathan, Sean Manaea is too good. Well, we haven't talked quite a bit about Manaea yet, so we'll get into that discussion now. If you guys want to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe, let's go ahead and kick off our Mets discussion. Sean Manaea, 3 years, $75 million, posted a video late last night when the news did break. Really like the deal here for the Mets. I think this is more of a team-friendly deal than anything else. Remember when Nathan Eovaldi agreed to his deal, 3 for $75? There were instantly rumors about 4 to 5 years is what Manaea was looking for. For him to end up back with the Mets on only 3 years works great for the New York Mets, because if he does regress, if he's not as good as you think he's going to be, as he looks like he turned a corner last year in his career, if he doesn't exceed that potential, then it's only 3 years, and it still works with what David Stearns has always done. They don't go out there and spend on Corbin Burns here. They always go for the 2 to 4 year contracts, usually 2 to 3. And they get Sean Manaea for, what Nathan Eovaldi was. Really like the deal here from a Mets perspective. As far as Manaea goes, maybe he's just comfortable being there in New York, and that's why he ultimately settled for the 3-year deal as opposed to trying to push for that 4th year a little bit longer. But really like the deal here for the Mets. They really needed to upgrade that rotation. I thought they would. I thought they would get Manaea all along, and they ultimately do. The Phillies still have a better rotation than them in the division, Dodgers in the conference, but I like where their rotation is at. They're going to be an offensively led team, and they're going to have enough pitching now to at least tread water enough for that offense to take over, and we'll see how things work out, but I like what they did bringing in Manaea. Cowboys, Stroman, Burns said he wanted to go deeper in games versus K's. Again, that kind of comes with learning how to pitch rather than going velocity, so I get the argument there. Let's see here, catch up on a few of these comments. Will the Rangers pay Burns $250 million? Doubtful, I agree there. Trevor Bauer time in Texas, he's still got it, but he's been out of the big leagues for, 3 years now, 4 years now? I think his time in Major League Baseball is done, sadly. His career really got derailed by those accusations. And I don't want to get into those too much, but basically they were proven that he was essentially innocent in all of that, and his career was basically over as a result of it. Kind of sucks. He was, the highest paid pitcher for a period of time with the Dodgers, and basically got 1 year there before everything kind of blew up in his face, and I don't think he's ever coming back to Major League Baseball. I just don't. And we'll see. Jonathan, should the Mets trade Blackburn for Luis Arraez to play second base? There's a lot of teams out there, kind of kicking the tires on Luis Arraez. I think there could be some momentum for the Padres to move him. I think the Padres are probably going to move 2 of the 3 top free agents they have going into next year. One being Dylan Cease, the second one being Michael King, the third being Luis Arraez. If I had to guess, Cease is probably the most likely to be traded, Arraez being second. I think Arraez's ability to get on base, his bat-to-ball skills are elite, and that's a skill that's not really valued on the free agent market, and it's not a skill really valued by most front offices. They like to see the power numbers, they like to see on base period in conjunction with the slug, and while Arraez might be a good player at the top of your lineup, he doesn't necessarily jump off the page to you if you're in the Major League front office looking at it going, hey, this guy only has 3 home runs, whereas the other one has 34. What's really the difference in 20, 30 points as batting average? Well, it's the bat-to-ball skills. It's the ability to work a walk. Arraez is elite at all of those skills, and I really like the player. It's just a matter of where he goes. No shortage of teams have at least already made calls to the Padres, I'm sure. I know the Rangers have at least kick the tires on it. We've heard a few rumors about them. The Yankees have as well. Mets I've heard of as well. There's several teams who could use a player like him. He's not a great defensive player. His best defensive position is probably first base. Maybe a team like the Mariners tries to get in on something like that, but we'll see what ultimately happens there. B. Rich, you said it, Rafi. Bauer is a choir boy compared to Chapman, so now we can just talk ball. Seager should be able to confirm if he was a locker room cancer or not. Again, I just don't think Bauer's coming back to the majors at this point. Vintage Mets don't need a second baseman. McNeil, Acuna, Mauricio, Beatty all play second base. To me, it's more of just getting the bat in the lineup more than anything else for what the Mets were at least interested in bringing him in for. Not necessarily playing him at a certain spot, but just getting his bat in front of Soto, getting him to be on base for Lindor and Soto, so you can kind of really rack up the numbers offensively. That was really the rumors I heard today on a rise around the Mets. Rafe, people were saying they wanted the Rangers to get Polar Bear Pete, and I was thinking, where you think he's getting the money for that? Well, they gave $17 or $18 million to Jock Peterson. Alonso's going to be making significantly more than that. I never really believed the rumors, about Alonso to Texas. There wasn't really anything, justifiable coming from the Texas end of it, other than fan base, certain members of the fan base saying they wanted him, but we never really heard any consistent rumors about that. Now, there were rumblings during the season that they might want to go after him via the trade market, but there was never really anything once he got to free agency. Speaking of Rangers, it always needs to be said, Dunning is their hidden, underrated gem. He was far and away their 2023 regular season pitching cement. True, but the Rangers coaches and pitching staff, everybody who handles the pitching staff there in Texas doesn't really like Dane Dunning. And why is that? It's because they prefer stuff over pitchability. For instance, Andrew Heaney has really great stuff, but he isn't exactly the greatest pitcher, able to get through as deep in a game as you might need to. Dunning is really good at being able to manage his workload, be able to manage his pitch count. And he learned how to be a bit of a strikeout artist toward the end of the 2023 season. So you're right about that. I really like Dane Dunning, the pitcher. But the Texas Rangers seem to value other things than what Dane Dunning brings to them. That's why he took a little bit of a discount even during the before the arbitration process really began for a 1-year, $2.9 million deal to go back to Texas. Love the guy. Really hoped he would have a great career even back when he was with the Washington Nationals and then with the Chicago White Sox. Really followed his career all the way from the very beginning. But the Rangers just don't seem to value what he brings to the table. Smith just needs some greenies. Liberty Hank, did we really get Bauer? No. Tato, there's still ways to make Burns signing work. You just have to get creative with the structure on the contract. True, that's kind of what I talked about. If you move on from Gray, maybe Tavares, you clear it up enough room to, if you backload a deal for Yates and Burns, that you could still somehow shoehorn it in there. But I still think it's more likely at this point he goes pretty much anywhere else. I think the most likely destination right now has got to be the San Francisco Giants, and I just don't see them bidding against themselves. So the Burns thing might take a little bit of time because I think the numbers aren't really going to move for a little bit there. Let's see here. Coffee shop. Let's see here. Likes up, fellas. Thank you. Ocean View, appreciate you for reminding us. Got about 60 people in our chat right now. Make sure you guys hit that like if you have not already. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to reach 2,000 by the end of the year. So if you are new here, if you wouldn't mind helping us out reach our goal, we would greatly appreciate it. Please and thank you. I just don't see the Rangers paying $250 million on Burns. I agree. Let's see here. Got quite a few comments here. Trying to catch up with some. If I missed your comment, I apologize ahead of time. No, Hank, where are you? No, Hank, it wasn't, we didn't, I was saying I wanted him especially since he said he would take the league minimum. Okay, I see what you're saying there, Rafe. I would like Trevor Bauer to be back in the major leagues. I just don't think it's going to happen. Any front office is going to look at it just from the pure time away from the game. 4 years? That's a long time. And baseball's changed a lot since then. I'm sure Trevor Bauer still is able to pitch very well. We see the videos all the time. But even when you look at him in tryout videos and so forth, you have no idea what that's going to look like, when he gets to the major leagues again. And you're going to have a lot of questions to ask, from reporters and all those kinds of things. Well, you want to, field a very competitive team and win a World Series, Those things matter to owners more than anything else. Maybe not to the front office, maybe not to the manager on your team, but to the owner, the guy signing the checks, that does matter to them. And if they're not comfortable with it, they're not going to do it. The front office probably isn't going to be comfortable just because he's been away for 4 years. That's why I think his time in the big leagues is essentially over at this point. He said he's willing to sign for the league minimum for about 2 years now. That has not changed. B. Rich, to be clear, Burns for 3 to 5 years would be awesome, not 8. I agree. That's Alex Rodriguez money. Yes, we talked about that as well. Holly, Bauer's time in league is over. No one is going to sign him. I agree. Ocean View, King isn't going anywhere, especially with Musgrove injured. I think that he's the one guy that they would probably keep out of the guys that are going into their final year of their contracts with the Padres. I think their preference would be to move on from Dylan Cease, because I think the market for him next year, when he gets to free agency, is going to be really high for what the Padres might be able to afford. And so we've seen the Padres get into a position and then divest themselves of that position a year later, or even at the trade deadline of the same year. And I would not be surprised if they tried to recoup some value for Dylan Cease before they lose him for essentially a qualifying offer pick, anyway, a compensation pick via free agency. Welcome in, brother. Appreciate you joining us. Let's see. Shout out to everyone in the chat, including Upside Sports Network. Keep up good work on the channel. Appreciate it. Shout out from South Bronx, brother BKL Contreras, a.k.a. Sportertainment Guy. Awesome. Okay. I guess that's how you'd say it. Sportertainment Guy. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. And I know quite a few of you guys have reached out over the last week anyway on our channel, leaving, words of encouragement on our videos. I want to thank you guys for that. It really is, helpful when, it does take a lot of time and a lot of effort to do this kind of thing as much as I do, and still be able to pull a full-time job and still be able to do other things as well. And, I do enjoy this kind of thing. This is fun for me, don't get me wrong. But it is seeing, it's nice seeing that encouragement every time I get off, and every time I'm about to log off. I see all your, thank yous, good night, all that kind of stuff. Whenever we log in, every time I get in here, hey, what's up, all that kind of thing. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is very helpful and very encouraging you guys kind of reach out the way you do, and make this so much fun and not just let's just talk about sports and nobody else is interested in what I'm talking about. We got 50 people in the chat right now that are interested in baseball. In the middle of December, a couple of days before Christmas. Come on, man. This is pretty cool. All right, John, what's the next Rangers priority move? Kirby Yates. Period. That's where they're focusing all their energy on right now. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets done tonight or tomorrow, but I would expect Kirby Yates to be in a Texas Rangers uniform next season, at least at this point. He is clearly their top priority. Let's see here. I think the Red Sox should trade for Luis Arias. He can be a DH for them and play second. Also, Rangers lineup is stacked. We are ready for 2025 offense-wise. I'll agree with you as far as the offense for Texas. It is better than where it was last year. Is it light years better? No. It's going to require the rest of the pieces in that lineup to get back to what we expected them to be. Jonah Heim cannot be the league's worst offensive piece again. That was pitiful. He knows he can be better. We saw him get to an start in the American League All-Star game, and he was a far cry from that last year. Same thing for Adolis Garcia. After the crash with Marcus Semien, his numbers were basically in the gutter for the rest of the year from June on. Marcus Semien had a down year overall. Hopefully he'll have a better year next year. Seager's numbers were even down about 30 to 40 points as well. His numbers, the peripherals look really good, but I think the results are going to be there next year. It's just kind of ebbs and flows of being a hitter in Major League Baseball. One year it falls for you, the next year it doesn't. I think we're going to see a little bit of positive regression here from Corey Seager because all the peripheral numbers still looked good for him. Just got to hope he stays on the field. The health was an issue. Same thing for Josh Young. Health was an issue. First half of the year, Josh Smith was great. Second half, he wore down. Those are all things that need to be addressed by the Rangers. I think their lineup is better, but they're going to have those guys perform better as well. As for your other point, Red Sox should trade for Arias. Honestly, I don't think so. I would rather go for Bregman. I think they're going to have Story at second base. They've already got that locked up. Now, if they bring in Arias instead of going after Bregman, I just don't see it as a great fit at the moment, but we'll see what happens. I think Bregman overall would be a better fit, from top to bottom there. Reason why the Yankees Trying to catch this comment real quick, and then I saw a super chat just pop in. We'll go to that in just a second. Reason why the Yankees aren't penny pinching is they want to reset their tax situation. I agree there. That seems to be, from the outside looking in, what they're looking to do. Jonathan with the $20 super chat. Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for the support. I really do appreciate that. Goes a long way, my friend, so thank you for that. In your opinion, rank the NL East from best to worst. Ooh, you're going to get me in trouble with some Mets and Phillies fans. All right. Right now, on paper, after the signing of Manaea, I would say the Mets have now leapfrogged the Philadelphia Phillies. I think their Phillies are a great regular season team. I don't think they've improved their roster a whole bunch overall. They're going to have to count on guys having better years than what they did last year, and they're going to have to shake off whatever seems to be their postseason problem. But I believe the Mets have really improved from where they were last year. They were just in the NLCS. I think they're still not done. I think they're going to try to bring back Alonso. There's rumblings about Bregman. But even without those guys on the roster right now, I would still lean towards the Mets. Now, while the Phillies have the better rotation, I still would go the Mets 1 in the NL East. 2 would clearly be the Philadelphia Phillies for all the other reasons that I just mentioned. You know, they still have Bryce Harper, they still have Schwarber, they still have Trey Turner. Trey Turner needs to play like Trey Turner of old. He didn't really play like that last year. Castellanos, I think getting him off of his feet this year will help him out by bringing in Kepler. His numbers weren't exactly horrible last year, but the strikeout numbers were down. It just seems like he wasn't exactly himself. He seemed worn down throughout the year, and I think getting him off his feet will actually make his bat play up a little bit. He does ground into his fair share of double plays, though. I don't like the Luzardo trade for them either. I really like their 1, 2, 3 in their rotation with Wheeler, Nola, and Sanchez. Ranger Suarez probably as your 4. Luzardo now as your 5. Andrew Painter, probably the greatest pitching prospect in the game that could be a difference maker for the Phillies this season. But for right now, I'd say Philadelphia is clearly the number 2 team. The number 3 team, far and away, is the Atlanta Braves. They still have work to do at the back end of the rotation, work to do in the corner outfield, and more work to do in that bullpen. But they have most of their team locked up long term. They're trying to reset their tax situation as well. There could be a reunion there with Charlie Morton, but for right now, they're clearly the 3rd best team in the NL East. 4th, I'm going to go ahead and say the Washington Nationals. I really like their young pieces. I think Nathaniel Lowe elevates their floor a little bit, and they're 1 year away from really making an impact in that division. We look at a team like the Philadelphia Phillies. They're basically locked up in their contracts right now for the next 2 to 3 years. We could see them really fall off during that period of time and be replaced by a team like the Washington Nationals, who is going to spend and spend and spend the next couple of off seasons. They have really good prospects coming up, really good young, controllable starting pitching already there, and they're going to be able to supplant whatever they don't have really well, or those young guys that falter. They're going to be able to replace those guys with really good, high-quality free agents, and I really like the way they're set up. Last has got to be the Miami Marlins. I just don't like their future, at least the way it looks right now. I don't like the return they got for Jesus Luzardo. I thought they should have held on to him and at least taken the risk of getting something much better in return for him. I think the number 4 prospect from the Phillies that they got is never going to be an impact player for them, even on their own roster. I don't think he's ever going to make it as their everyday shortstop, and you're not getting an everyday player at any point out of that deal. That's a big question mark for me. Why do you make the deal? There was no rush. Medicals obviously had an issue there with the Chicago Cubs. I'm sure the Phillies had the same issues. Why not wait when you can get more of a higher price in return for Jesus Luzardo at the trade deadline as long as he's healthy? That's a big risk. I get it. But the return isn't exactly wowing me. I would rather have gone a different direction if I was the Marlins. Now, the rest of that team, there's not a whole lot to look forward to, like I just said. The future doesn't exactly look bright in that farm system. They need to replenish that. And their hope is that they'll be able to use some of their pitching their major league pitching pieces to be able to get those prospects in. That was their plan last year. It blew up in their faces. Remember how I just said the risk of Luzardo is that he might get injured? That's what happened last year. All their guys they were hoping to trade at the deadline ultimately got hurt, and they were not able to flip them at the deadline and kind of rewrite their entire future going forward. They're hoping to have a little bit better luck in that category this season, but it doesn't look promising. And until those guys are healthy, and until those guys are traded, and they have those prospects in their own system once again, then we can discuss them about having a little bit brighter future. But for right now, I think it's clearly the Marlins in the cellar. Nationals are clearly in the 4 spot. Braves, to me, are clearly the 3. It's very close between the Phillies and Mets at the top, though. But I give the slight edge to the Mets, even without Alonso coming in yet, or Bregman, or whoever else they might add. But I would give that slight edge right now to the Mets. Alrighty, let's kind of check in on a few of these other comments. I know I probably missed a few of your comments. If you guys want to send your questions to me, if I missed them, I do apologize. Rafe, you said just before the super chat there, Heim is a guy I want to see succeed more than anybody. I don't know why, I just like the guy. He is a guy you can really root for, I will say that, but his offense was terrible last year. Heel, thank you for always reading our comments. We love you, bro. Thank you, Heel. I try to keep up. I know when I get really high viewer counts in here, those super chats do help out, because during our live we had, I want to say Sunday at 7 was our really big live where we had like 150, 160 people in here, and we had a comment every 2 seconds. That was tough to keep up, and I tried to do my best to keep up. But I thank you for the appreciation. It does go a long way to kind of keep this thing going. It's a lot of fun to discuss baseball with you guys. If you guys are new here, hit that like and subscribe if you want to join our community. We have a very good community out here. Every single fan base is represented, and we're usually pretty darn respectful. We do have one moderator who does pay attention from time to time, but in general, we don't really need moderation because we have such a good community. So if you want to join, tell us where you're watching from, who's your favorite team, what you give all the trades we've seen from the Rangers, the acquisitions they've made. Tell us what you think of the Yankees offseason so far. Where do you think Burns is going to go? Join our chat. It's a lot of fun. And as always, hit that subscribe button. We're very close to hitting our 2,000 subscriber goal by the end of the year. We gained quite a few subscribers yesterday. Honestly, since we really started covering over the last week, or I say week, the last month anyway, from the winter meetings on, it's really kind of been taken off. So this community is going to continue to grow, and we're going to keep bringing you live content every single night. Originally, we were just going to do this, weekdays at 9 o'clock. You guys respond so well to this. We aren't taking a day off. Not even for Christmas, not for holidays. We will be live here for you guys every single night because of the way you guys have responded, and you guys seem to enjoy this content. This is a lot of fun for me to do as well, and I appreciate how much you guys enjoy this as well. Jonathan, thank you again for that super chat. That was really kind of you, and I know quite a few of you guys have also sent your own super chats along the way. You guys don't have to do that, but it does show that you guys really do appreciate the channel, and it does mean a lot to me. So I wanted to say thank you guys, for doing those kinds of things. Before I even started getting to the monetized section of YouTube, you guys were offering to do it, but I wasn't able to get to there yet. And you guys, when I got to that point, you guys started supporting the channel. It was really nice to see the support you guys give us, and I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you for doing all of that work. It's been a lot of fun doing this with you guys. But if you guys are new here, hit that like and subscribe. Let's catch up on a few of these comments if I can. Yankees going to try to sign James McCann, I bet. Wouldn't be a bad fit for them. They did trade away Jose Trevino. I like the return that they got in a Cruz, as well as kind of a 6th, 7th inning option there. Lucas, good morning. Upside just came off the Mavs game. Mavs did blow out the Trailblazers. I think it was 133-108. I think just saw pop up on my phone. Luca was back. Pat Murphy to Rangers with a spring training invite is an interesting move. You think so, Rafe? I don't. I don't like it. He was terrible when he was here last in the big leagues. He was terrible in the minors. His numbers in international ball were actually below average in the NPB. This is purely a depth signing, and if you're counting on him at any point during the Major League season, things have gone really, really wrong. Maybe they see something. Maybe there's something they really like about him, but I really don't like that signing. That scares me a little bit. I really like what the Rangers have done, but if you're counting on Pat Murphy at any point next year for the Texas Rangers, injuries have really become a problem, because I'd say there's probably 15 to 20 other pitchers that I would bring up, both relievers and starters, before I would touch Pat Murphy. Yikes. That scares me a lot. Another thing that the Rangers did that I still have questions about is Sean Armstrong signed to a 1-year deal. To me, he's kind of an reliever. This is the time period where the Rangers are looking to improve their bullpen. They still are looking to bring in an 8th inning setup guy. That guy they seem to have pegged down right now is Chris Martin. We'll see if they bring him in. I would expect them to try to get that deal done sometime before New Year's, but Kirby Yates is their priority in that ninth inning. But the signing of Shawn Armstrong speaks to me as a depth signing for them, kind of in the vein of a Pat Murphy signing. Not to that extreme, but Shawn Armstrong, if you're counting on him for an eighth inning role or a seventh inning role, that would worry me. I don't think you're going to be counting on him in a winning situation. I think he's more of a mop-up type guy. And I think there was other guys I would rather have given that spot to in the bullpen, or at least left that spot open to where I can sign 3 or 4 guys to contracts like we just saw for Pat Murphy and see who can win the job out of spring training. And I think you didn't have to guarantee a major league roster spot to him at the moment. Maybe you think you can pass him through waivers. Maybe you think there's an option. I don't think there's an option. He's been in the league for like 10 years. But I would rather have gone a different direction. Paige, I like your podcast. You're very knowledgeable about baseball. The bonus is being able to razz you about the Rangers. Yeah, true. I mean, I'm a good spirit, you know. It poked some fun. I don't mind. I can take it. The Rangers have taken it for 50 years until they finally won a World Series. So, you know, I'm still living off of that tie. I mean, you're talking about a Rangers team that was never given the respectability. You know, when they were trying to bring in all these top-flight free agents, they were able to stun everybody and bring in Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, and all these other free agents. All of them, they were not expected to bring in. That was really nice seeing the baseball world have to eat a little bit of crow and for them to be justifiably satisfied when they won the World Series. Now that the World Series hangover is over, it's time to get back to winning. We'll see what they do. All right, Cowboys Nation, Miami can eat that trade after the gifts Elias gave them for Trevor leaving Rodgers. I like that one. All right, he's trying to catch up on some of these comments here. Let's see here. Heel, if Josh Smith plays better than Josh Young, would you trade Young for a pitcher or include him in a package for a star player? No. At no point is Josh Smith going to take over at third base for Josh Young. The reason being, the Texas Rangers have told you that already. I know a whole bunch of pundits out there, and even MLB Network says they're going to platoon at third base with Young and Smith. Have you been watching the Rangers, my guy? I mean, Young, when he's healthy, is there at third base every single day. They don't take him out for platoons. He's there. He's the best defensive option at third base. And when he's healthy, that offense is there. When he's coming back from injury, of course the offense looked terrible when he was coming back from injury both of the last 2 years. But when he's healthy, we saw how he came out of the gates at the beginning of 2024 like gangbusters. Probably was the best player on the team at the time he got hurt. And honestly, it was like 4 games. So, it's only a 4-game stretch. Talk about a small sample size. That's a small sample size. But he looked like he was ready to, get going and take off on a big Josh Young year. And it just fell apart so quickly because of injury. And none of these injuries are necessarily like injury-prone type of things. He just seems to get injured in fluky ways. Hit by, pitch off the wrist. Weird injuries. And that doesn't make you injury-prone. It just means that you've been injured in rather unique ways. But you need to be able to be available. And that's been the one issue for Young. If he's not available, of course you put Duran over there at third base probably along with Smith. That's your platoon. But I think Young is absolutely the starter there from start to finish for the Texas Rangers. Now, as far as, a trade possibility, like I said, Josh Smith is probably the more attractive piece via trade. So even if Josh Young didn't earn the spot at third base and showed continued regression, there's nobody out there, if the injuries were that significant and the bat was that poor, that Josh Young would still have that level of ability to draw in other pieces if the issues persisted to that point where the Rangers would even be willing to discuss a trade for Josh Young. Josh Smith, on the other hand, doesn't have a spot in the everyday lineup locked in already. He's not the everyday first baseman from start to finish of a 162-game season, but I don't think the Rangers are looking to deal them right now. I'm just saying, if you hear some trades around the Rangers, Josh Smith's name is the one that will likely pop up. Lucas, where is the Itai character? I'm pretty sure Corbin isn't coming. I haven't seen him the last couple of days. Hopefully he joins us here in the next few. But, we'll have to see. Maybe he's still right. There's still a way they could shoehorn it in there, like I said at the top of the video. But I don't think it's overly likely at this point. St. Vintage, I've seen either Randall Grichuk to the Mets for a DH. If they can't get Winker, they were in on Jock and Santana for DH before signing. I heard the same thing. I think they're looking at bigger things right now. I think they're trying to lock up their first base position, whether that be Pete Alonso or going with somebody else, if that means reinvesting that money in an Alex Bregman. But I think that's where their focus is at the moment. But to your point about Randal Grichuk, I was actually looking at his numbers on Baseball Savant. More of a corner outfield DH type at this point. Really hits left-handers really well, but he's more of a platoon guy at this point. We saw that with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He and Jock Peterson split those DH duties very well out there, and I wonder if a team takes a chance on him that needs to improve against left-handed hitting. I would say the Texas Rangers would be that team. The reason why I don't say that, though, is because they have Leody Taveras already, and even if they moved off of Taveras and they wanted to put Grichuk in there as their fourth outfielder to back up in center, right or left, Grichuk doesn't really play center, so I don't see that as a fit there. We'll see where he goes. I think he could be a good bench piece for somebody out there this coming season. Interesting note, though, on Carlos Santana that I just read before I came on the air is that the Seattle Mariners had actually offered more guaranteed money for him to go to Seattle. Tells me they're really interested in bringing in a first base bat. I wonder if they're going to look to the trade market now. Possibly Tristan Casas could be a fit there. Ryan Mountcastle if they move off of Luis Castillo. Both are options there as well. Rafe, I could see I think Burns is a lock for the Giants again. Rangers blew it. I don't think the Rangers blew it, and the reason why I say that, it was never a guarantee that he was going to go to Texas. While we would have really hoped for it as Rangers fans, they were never seen as the favorite. They had interest in him 3 years ago. They didn't think they would have a chance to get him after they brought in DeGrom. Here they are, almost to Christmas, and he's still sitting there on the open market. I'm sure CY kicked the tires on it, but I think he realized where he wanted to go in free agency with his money. You'd have to if you're spending that kind of money on Jock Peterson. And Chris Young is very deliberate in how he goes about it. He's done a great job rebuilding the bullpen, a great job helping out that lineup, bringing in some power with Higashioka, Berger, and now Peterson. But like I said, there's still a way if Burns really wanted to go to Texas that bad to where they could backload the deal for Yates and Burns to where they could make them both fit for 2025 and still make the contracts work for them long term. I wouldn't say it's a 0% chance right now for Texas, but I would say the possibility of him going to Texas right now has got to be infinitesimally small. But we'll see. I still think the Giants are now the prohibitive favorites to bring him in. Rashad, welcome in. Great contact, man. Look forward to seeing these lives every day, man. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you, Rashad. Thank you for the support. We've been live for about an hour. Got about 45 of you guys with us. We'll wrap up here in just a few minutes. But if you guys want to hit that like and subscribe, let us know where you're watching from. Help us reach that 2,000 subscriber goal by the end of the year. I just want to say thank you once again to those of you who have sent super chats. Jonathan, ZPCXZ, I believe, is another one who has sent one. And a few of you guys have sent super chats before. I just want to say thank you for supporting the channel. Let me check up on a few of these other comments, see if I can catch up here. Rafe, I wasn't saying interesting in a good way. Okay. Yassine, welcome in. First time I think I've seen you here. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Who do you see the Yankees target for third base or second? My preference would be for them to go to Bregman. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen. I think their fallback option is probably where they were hoping to go with Nolan Arenado, with Stroman going out the other way. Maybe even with the Cardinals taking a little bit of that money on Arenado. I still think that's their preference if they can make the money work underneath the Cohen tax. If they can't, then they're probably looking at the next tier of free agency. Guys like Jose Iglesias, players of that ilk, Jorge Polanco come to mind as well. But I think as far as a third base or second, I think Chisholm is going to take one of those spots. They say they have an in-house option at third base. The Yankees do anyway. I'll believe it when I see it at the major league level. But they're going to have some youth come up at some point. They can't just keep paying $20+ million for every single position player. You still have DJ LeMahieu on that roster as well. Counting on him for 162 games would be a flaw. But he's still there, at least at the moment. Rafe, Yates, Urena, and maybe look back at Robertson, I think is the last major moves for the Rangers. I think they could afford Yates. I think they could afford Urena. I think unless there's other moves, they probably wouldn't be able to afford Robertson as well, especially after the money they gave Peterson. Now, if Peterson had only gotten 12 per year, I'd say there's enough room to bring in two of those high-leverage guys like Robertson and Yates. But right now, I don't think there's enough money to go around to all those guys. Paige, I like that you got Jock Peterson. Jock is misunderstood. He takes care of his little brother that has problems. That's good on him. The Rangers have a really good eye for good guys in baseball. Just look at Nathaniel Lowe. Just look at all the guys that the Rangers have had. John Gray come to mind. Corey Seager and his foundation. Rangers have a lot of good dudes on their team, and Jock will have a very nice clubhouse that he goes into. Rafe, Jock was an overpay for a sole hitter who could slump and be useless, taking $18 million. The one thing I do like about Jock Peterson that I haven't mentioned yet that I should give him a little credit for is that he is a hitting savant. He will do so many more things for you, the intangibles, as far as getting those younger players on that roster, helping them get out of their slumps, helping them work in the cage. Those are invaluable things. We see that a lot with Nathan Eovaldi and the pitchers. Jacob deGrom, even when he's injured for the entire year, he still did it with the pitchers as well. It'd be nice to have a guy like that on the hitting side. Now, I'm sure Simeon does that with the boys already, but having a guy like Jock who loves to just talk hitting is really going to go a long way in that clubhouse and really help the issues that they had in Texas last year. Remember, it wasn't just injuries that caused Texas to have their World Series hangover. It was their offense kind of sputtered the entire year, and having a guy like Jock, whose bat is going to help, yes, but those intangibles are going to be infectious throughout the lineup, and I got to give him credit that those are things he's going to be able to help out with. Liberty, any Angels news? Still pretty much the same, unfortunately. I know you keep asking, but it still sounds like Gleyber Torres and Yohan Moncada are the guys there. I did hear one rumor about a possible return of Randall Grichuk as well. Let's see here. Rafe, if Angels sign Alonso, I will buy an Astros jersey. What? Interesting. One, because I don't think the Angels are going to sign Alonso. I think they're going to be looking at other possibilities right now. I'm sure Moreno's having this, his moment again where he wants to spend money. He always wants to spend money, but this is a time where they should be, looking to invest, in 1-year deals worth $4 million in free agents for the back end of their bullpen that they can flip at the deadline. This is the time they should be rebuilding their prospect pool. I get it. You got Ron Washington, a great manager there. He had a really good year one as far as getting those young guys to grow. But it's time to be realistic about where you are. You're the bottom in that division. You don't have a chance to win the division. You're not winning the series. So why would you pay for a first baseman whose one trick is hitting the home run? That kind of limits you going forward. You have Shanuel already. Why would you bring in a guy who's probably going to take his spot at first base or, more likely, be your everyday DH? I just don't think that happens. Liberty, any chance they sign Alonso to your question? I don't think so. Welcome in VPCZX. I think I just literally mentioned your name, and there you are in the chat. Appreciate you joining us. Any Blue Jays updates? Not as of yet. Still pretty much the same rumors out there. We did hear that they were at least interested in Jock Peterson and Carlos Santana before they signed, but ultimately they don't get those guys either. Welcome in Matt Lee. First time I think I've seen you in the chat. Do you think the Astros will add an outfielder? I do. I think they're looking at Santander. Profar has been connected there as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if they added somebody to take over for Kyle Tucker. Rubenstein is going to give Corbin 5 years, $175, $180 million, bring him back to Baltimore. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. They're looking to try to keep their costs down, and they're a smaller market team. As much as the ownership there might be willing to do it, doesn't sound like Elias is willing to go that far. If I had to guess, I would say Luis Castillo would be the best fit for the money and the long-term deal. Their preference, it sounds like, could be Dylan Cease. I hate to see us waste Gunnar and team control before they become due for a payday. Kind of what we've been talking about the last week anyway, is how they're kind of squandering the opportunity they have. So, we'll see what they do, but I think they're going to go the trade route, probably for Cease or for Castillo. Rafe, Sasaki apparently met with the Rangers and Giants today. Inaccurate there, actually, Rafe. The Rangers met with him last week. So a lot of these teams that have already had meetings with the clubs or have meetings with Sasaki haven't exactly been reported on. So that actually happened last week. Chris Young confirming that today. Thank you for the appreciation there, my guy. Thank you for what you do. VPCZX anyway. Thank you for the $2. I really appreciate the support. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Mark, Jock, a great pickup for your Rangers. Fantastic clubhouse guy too. Big thumper in the lineup. I would agree there. Great clubhouse guy. We heard about that for years now. We saw it even on the world champion Atlanta Braves team. He was part of that team that really, kind of picked up after the loss of Ronald Acuna. And his career has really taken off ever since that time, honestly. I do like the signing as far as, what he could bring to the lineup. My questions are more for the flexibility of the roster, the outfield alignment, how the platoon is going to work, and what their other options were with the money that they're giving to Jock. Those are my only issues for it. I don't have any issue with his ability to hit. I don't have any issues with his ability to get on base. The Rangers did need to bring in slug, and that's one thing Chris Young has really identified this offseason with Higashioka and Berger, bringing them in, and now with Jock Peterson. Holly Sasaki met with the Rangers last week per Evan Grant. Exactly. Rafe, the O's having to pay those young guns is going to be rough, LOL, but that's some years away. It's not that far in the future, honestly. This is really where you have to capitalize and spend the money in free agency on starting pitching. You got, 3-4 years before you really have to worry about the money getting really high on those guys? Because remember, you have pre-arb for 3 years. Then you're going to have to pay them arbitration year 1, 2, and 3. Arb years 2 and 3 can get really expensive on players like that. And, they might start feeling the pinch right around there. So their timetable is really thin here to try to spend that money. They should absolutely be spending it on top flight starting pitchers, and it seems they're hesitant to do so. Sean, welcome in. Who will the Cubs target now that Buehler is off the board? In case you guys had missed it, I had pegged Buehler to go to the Cubs. With him coming off the board, the players that are really left to me that fit the Cubs would be a guy like Andrew Heaney. Now, the home run issue would be a problem in my estimation, but I would say probably Andrew Heaney makes a lot of sense to that rotation. Really good spin, really good stuff, but is prone to giving up the gopher ball when he doesn't have it that day. So, we saw run prevention at an all-time high with the Chicago Cubs, at least at home anyway, with the wind blowing in for the majority of the year. But the Wrigley Field usually plays as a plus park for offense. I don't think we're going to see that type of horrible year from the offensive side of things at Wrigley again, and that might bode not very well for a guy like Andrew Heaney when he doesn't have his best stuff. St. Vintage, where does Harrison Bader land? Good question. I actually thought about it for the Texas Rangers. Unless they move Tavares, I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see a great fit there either with Bader. But if they needed a fourth outfielder after moving on from Tavares, I could see the logic. More likely, he's going to go to a team that needs a third or fourth outfielder in center. We talked about the Yankees possibility. I think with the signing of Goldschmidt and the trade of Bellinger, I think that need has decreased. There's a number of other teams that could use him, though, and I can't really pinpoint a team yet, but he's a nice piece. It's just a matter of who ultimately needs that corner or that center fielder or fourth outfielder. Rafe, Rangers going to have guys in the 7 and 8 hole that a lot of teams could bat top 3 or 4. That was kind of the case when they won the World Series. I think they're going to have that same depth once again, but a lot of it relies on whether this offense can really rebound from what they were last year. Remember, Heim was one of the all-time worst players in baseball last year. He was really bad offensively. He needs to get that corrected. They didn't have a lot of pop from Nathaniel Lowe. That's why they went in a different direction with Jake Berger and Peterson. And then then they're still looking at other improvements that they could make from within. The second half of the year for Josh Smith wasn't great. Getting him able to do it for 162 games is a goal this year. Having Josh Young be healthy for the entire year, another goal. Same thing for Evan Carter. Wyatt Langford's power didn't really come through last year. I think it will this coming season. And Garcia was terrible from from the end of May onward after that collision. Health, I think, was the reason why. Strikeouts have always been an issue, but he was always able to come through with the power. He was more limited in that degree last year because of that injury, and Semien had a down year. They're going to require those guys to have a rebound season to get back to where they were in 2023. Quintana to the Cubs, I could see a return there. I wouldn't rule that one out. Flaherty goes to an AL team. I think that one is likely as well. But there's some possibilities that he goes to the NL side. I could see him signing with the Reds as well. Maybe a team like the Blue Jays because they've got nobody to take their money as of yet. Bill, this channel is great. Many others aren't as generous as you are. Well, thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. We got about 40 of you guys with us right now. Just want to say thank you guys for joining us tonight. We'll be live again tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you wouldn't mind helping us out reach our goal. Just want to say thank you once again to those of you who have sent the super chats as well, going above and beyond. I really appreciate the support. Jonathan, VPCZX, I keep tripping over those last two, but I really appreciate the support. Let's see here. Rafe, Berger, Smith, most likely at first. I agree. However, I think Berger could play a lot of DH along with Peterson. And then you have possibly Duran and Smith at first base. Duran played a pretty good first base defensively as well. Let's see, Jake Berger is Texas first baseman. Honestly, I think he plays more at DH whenever there's a lefty on the mound. I think they're going to look to get both Berger and Peterson in there for some games during the year, but I think you're going to see more guys like Duran and Smith at first base than you will Berger. Rafe, for some reason I keep spelling Berger's name wrong, just like I keep spelling VPC ZX's name wrong. I keep getting that one flip-flopped. Alrighty, Cowboys, any AL team but Baltimore, please. I understand Baltimore's hesitation with Flaherty. Bill, to me, you're the best of all the baseball info sites of all, and it's not close. Well, thank you, Bill. Like I said, this is the only place where you're going to get all of the sources. Twitter, all the other top reporters out there, MLB Network's information, Foul Territory's information. We're going to pool it all for you here and keep you guys updated as quick as possible. You saw the videos we posted today. If you guys want to check those out, hit like on those videos. I'd greatly appreciate it if you wouldn't mind doing that. That would help us, drum up the numbers on those videos. It goes a long way to supporting the channel and helping us really grow our fan base here. So thank you guys for joining us. Sean, will there be more signings tomorrow? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there was another signing in the next hour and 28 minutes tonight. But there will be one or two tomorrow. Let's see here. Jock is DH per Fangraphs depth chart for Texas. He is. Remember, he only played DH last year for Arizona. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and head out for the evening, but make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. If you're new here, really appreciate you guys joining us for the first time. Follow us over on X at UpsideSN and on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe, trying to reach 2,000 by the end of the year, we would greatly appreciate it. Rafe, excited for the Rangers baseball again. Couldn't agree more. They had a great year with winning the World Series. Down year, World Series hangover, all that kind of thing. Now's its time to get back to winning, and they've done a nice job of at least getting a very good team around them so far. More work to do, but we'll see if they get more of that work done tonight or tomorrow with Kirby Yates possibly getting signed. Keep your eyes on Chris Martin as well. And then ultimately we'll see, where the big guys sign. Bregman, Burns, those are the free agents that I'm really curious about for the rest of Major League Baseball. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see you tomorrow afternoon.